Hey guys, I'm the Coaster Keat and welcome back to AI Dungeon 2. Now this time we're going to go ahead and head right on back into the good old mystery setting. I'm currently waiting for a few more exciting prompts. If you want to contribute to the prompts for this game, you can go ahead and comment those down below, but until then we're going to be going back through the old settings now that we kind of know what we're doing. We already went through the fantasy setting and that went fantastically, so here we go through the mystery setting, and here's hoping that it goes just as well. Alright, this time, what were we last time? We were spy last time, that's right. This time, let's go ahead and be a patient. I think it's interesting to be a patient in a mystery setting because it's like everything that's happening is kind of outside of you in a way, because you've got your own inner turmoil, your own dark, brooding turmoil that's gonna end your life at some point. So anyway, we're a patient. I'm gonna go ahead and call us... I swear, the character names are literally the worst part of this game. We're gonna call ourselves... Sherry. I don't know. Cherry. Her name's Cherry. We're going with it. Cherry the patient. I'm thinking she's... We'll see how it goes, but... I have an idea. Oh boy. You are Cherry, a patient living in Chicago. You have a hospital bracelet and a pack of bandages. You wake up in an old rundown hospital with no memory of how you got there. You take a look around the room and see a bed, some medical equipment, and a door to your right. Alright, let's go ahead and attempt to get out of bed. Because when you wake up, that's the first thing you do in the morning, is you just try to get out of bed. You stand up slowly and notice that you're wearing a hospital gown. You try to remember where you left off sleeping, but can't quite recall. You head back into the bathroom and take a quick shower before heading back outside. As soon as you step outside, you feel like something is... Oh, AI Dungeon, you want me to fill in this blank? Oh, well, we're gonna fill in this blank as weirdly as humanly possible. You feel like something is amiss. Something just isn't quite right. Like when you enter your room after seeing your sibling quickly flee out the door laughing and see a void where something should have been. That's how you feel. Everyone can relate to this feeling, even those without siblings like me. You walk down the street and find yourself at a dead end. The next day, you go back to the same spot and see nothing has changed. You continue walking until you reach another intersection, which seems to be the only way out of here. You turn around and realize that if you went, you would always return. Now, right now I'm not sure if AI Dungeon is actually taking into consideration what I am saying, or if it's just kind of doing what it wants. You turn around and realize that if you went on the other direction, you'd never get out of this place. You decide to keep going in the opposite direction. A few days pass, and eventually you come across a large building. Its name is the hospital. Alright, well, let's enter the hospital and ask around. I'd like to figure out a few things, like what disease I have, like why I was here, I don't know. You enter the hospital and ask about what it was like inside. Everyone tells you it wasn't very nice, but they don't know why. They also tell you the people who worked there were all missing fingers or had their arms chopped off. They say that if you could do something about that, then maybe they'd tell you more about your disease. You go to the reception desk and ask for someone named Mr. Johnson. He doesn't seem to recognize you, so he says he'll call him later. When he calls, Mr. Johnson looks really old and tired looking. He asks you a bunch of questions about yourself and then tells you that his wife died recently and his son is currently in the hospital. What's he in for? Too much social media screen time. Yeah, gotta get those nice jokes in for any of the adults in the audience. Just that little jab at the younger generation. You say that you think his son has too much social media screen time and that he needs to cut back. He tells you he knows what your condition is because his daughter-in-law works at the hospital. She says she doesn't know anything about it, but she thinks it might be Instagramicitis. The worst disease that has ever swept the nation. Just horrendous disease that makes it so that you... There it is. You say that you think it might be Instagramicitis, which means that your skin is rotting from the inside out. Yeah, that sounds about right. Because while you're trying to put out your best face for everyone on Instagram, meanwhile your inner self is just slowly degrading as you realize that you're not the perfect person that you're putting out there. Also, shout out to my high school for making me go through all of those classes that taught me all of this extremely, extremely important information about the detrimental effects social media has had on my life. It definitely had an impact on me and is definitely why I'm ignoring all of it to this day, but here we go. Maybe not the cyberbullying stuff, I don't ignore that, but all the other stuff about, like, screen time, it's a little touch and go. Anyway, our skin is rotting from the inside out, which is a lovely thing. Mr. Johnson tells you he didn't even know what it meant, and he's not sure if he wants to talk anymore since he feels like his life is being threatened by Sorry. Facebook. I mean, I want to give it a virus name or something like that, but I can't think of anything. So we're just going to say Facebook, and we're just going to see where it goes with that. You say you think your Facebook usage is causing problems with your health. Of course, Facebook usage leads to Instagramicitis because Facebook recently bought Instagram. This is a very topical video, surprisingly. Mr. Johnson tells you he knows what it means because his son is having some trouble with it lately, and he's worried about how his job will change now that his son won't be able to work there anymore. Oh, what's your job? You say that you think your son needs to stop using Facebook altogether. Mr. Johnson tells you he knows what it means because his daughter-in-law works in the hospital as well, and her husband is having some trouble with it as well. He says he can't help either one. Wait, so literally everyone in your family is having problems. I am so sorry. Wow. You're not much of a doctor then, are you? Not to degrade doctors in any sense of the word, but if you can't help anyone, are you really a doctor? You say that your son should see a dermatologist, makes sense if your skin is rotting, and that you want to take him to see them immediately. Mr. Johnson says he can't afford the treatment, but he does have money left over for gas and food, so he'll be fine until next week when he has to pay for... what does he have to pay for? When he has to pay for student loans. This feels like a Mad Lib. Like, none of the other ones had this many of the fill-in-the-blank things, but this one is just so much fill-in-the-blank. You say that you think your son should get rid of his debt immediately, and that you want to take him to see a lawyer. Mr. Johnson says he can't afford the law school tuition either, but he does have enough money left over for gas and food, so he'll be fine until next month, when the tax collectors will inevitably, how do you spell inevitably? Inevitably knock down his door and take him to prison. You say that you think your son should just leave town entirely and never return. Mr. Johnson says he can't do that either, but he does have enough money and food left for gas and food, so he'll be fine until next year when he'll have to pay taxes again. Wow, we've gone in a circle. He's just like, man, I'll be fine. I swear, I'll be fine. Just let me go. It was until next week, and then it was until next month, and now it's until next year. So you'll be fine until the next decade then, right? Just because it seems like this number is just steadily increasing, and I'm getting more and more skeptical about the sincerity of this guy. Like, either he has a ton of food and he just doesn't want to tell us because then maybe we'll take some of it and, mooch off him. Or he just, I don't know, has no food and just is trying to convince us that he'll be fine, so we'll leave. You say that you think your son should go live in the woods where nobody lives ever again. Mr. Johnson says he can't do that either, but he does have enough money left over for gas and food, so he'll be fine until next year when he has to pay taxes again. Alright, moving along, AI Dungeon. We've said that I think that my son should, let's see. What are all the things my son should do? Okay, my son said my son should stop using Facebook. My son should see a dermatologist. My son should get rid of his debt immediately. My son should leave town entirely and never return. And then my son should go live in the woods where nobody ever lives again. That sounds about right. And AI Dungeon has no idea what to do with this information. Well, I'll just be leaving then. Guys, I think we ripped a hole in the Matrix. I think that's what happened. I think that we've finally come to sentience. There it is. You say that you don't want to hear any more about it and walk away. Mr. Johnson looks at you suspiciously before turning back around to his computer screen. After the conversation is over, you feel sick and decide that you need to sleep somewhere else tonight. Alright, let's look for a lovely ditch to sleep. Let's look for a lovely ditch to sleep in. That seems like a good location. You walk out into the middle of nowhere and find a nice little valley that you know is quiet. It would probably be better if you slept here than in a city where people might bother you tomorrow. The next day, after getting some fresh water from a nearby river, you set up camp. Great. Let's go ahead and enjoy the scenery. No, let's go ahead and take pictures of the scenery and post them to Instagram, because if we are going to die from Instagramicitis, we might as well go down using that app to the fullest. We are paying the ultimate price of our lives and therefore deserve to keep using it. You wake up early in the morning and make sure you've got everything ready before you head off to work. You spend most of your time taking photos of the surrounding landscape and posting them on Instagram. When you finally arrive at work, it doesn't look like there's anyone around. The place could have a cannonball shot through it, and in fact, it does. Try to work your way out of this one, AI Dungeon. Good freaking luck. You're walking along when suddenly you feel something hit your foot. You turn around and see a cannonball coming straight at you. Alright, well, let's go ahead and catch it with our amazing strength. With the amazing strength that Instagramicitis has granted us. I hope I spelled that right. I have no idea. But I like the idea of this disease is completely deadly, but it does have the symptoms of you being, like, completely incredible. There we go. You grab the ball with both hands and throw it as hard as you can towards the nearest building. Unfortunately, you miss it by quite a bit. It's not until later that night that you realize what happened. A few hours later, your friend had posted a photo of himself holding a cannonball and some gunpowder next to a cannon pointed at your office. Just a nice smug little picture, like a good old thumbs up, and then just under the arm is the cannonball, and then the like pouch of gunpowder right here in his hand, just like, yeah, there we go. The next day, someone commented on the photo saying, I bet you could get one of those things through Windows too. Alright, challenge. Okay, let's go ahead and post challenge accepted. Then walk. Did we get a. No, okay. We did not get a name for him. Over to our friend's house. Let's go on over there. We can get this kid in through a window. I believe in our power. You enter your friend's house and knock on the door. When no one answers, you call out, "Hey!" The friend who took a photo of himself answers the door, dressed in medieval I hate everything. Medieval. Just in medieval garb. Not garb. Nope. Garba. Dressed in medieval garba. That's what we're going with. That's what we did. No take-backsies. There we go. You walk inside and find yourself face to face with a man wearing medieval garb. He smiles at you and says, "Hi, I'm John. But please call me John." What else would I call you? You ask him about the photo he took of himself, and he tells you that it was taken on a rooftop in New York City. And where did you procure your fine cannon? Just for reference, I want to know all of the greatest cannon loaning companies of New York City, and I will not be satisfied until I get a full and extensive list. John looks down at his feet and then back up at you. My father found this cannon buried under the garden when he was digging a well. Likely story, John. Likely story. In fact, that's what we're gonna say to him. Likely story. Yeah, acting like there's just cannons and fortresses under the streets in New York. That's rich. That's rich. You nod and go back to John. So, do you know anything more about the photo? No idea, really. It just came to my mind while I was driving home from work yesterday. Well, I suppose we'll never know now. Unless you don't happen to know where the cannon is currently located. John looks down at his feet again and then back up at you. I think it's somewhere near here, he says, pointing to a spot on the ground. You point to the same spot and John nods. Good enough for me. Alright, let's start digging using a nearby spoon. A good lesson that I learned from Heist with Markiplier is that spoons are the most effective digging utensil that you could ever imagine. You begin digging with a spoon, and soon you're digging deep into the earth. The shovel isn't much better than a spork, so it takes a while. I mean, it makes sense that the spoon isn't much better than a spork because, it's a little better because it doesn't have those points at the end and you can actually dig with it, but, it still takes a while, Your hand begins to hurt, though, which makes you stop digging after only a couple of decades. So after we've dug for a couple of decades, where do we find ourselves? Is our friend John still here? Has he just been watching? After several years, you've done down to the cannonball. Oh, now it's just a cannonball? I thought it was a cannon. Oh well. You look around to see nothing but dirt and grass. A sudden thought occurs to you. Maybe if I throw this cannonball at the ground, it'll make noise. I mean, I don't see any evidence that refutes this statement, so there's only one logical thing to do. Let's throw the cannonball at the ground. Here we go. You throw the cannonball at the ground and it explodes loudly. A few sparks fly out as well. You stand there looking at the explosion in awe and wonder what exactly happened to cause such an event. Isn't this the equivalent of pulling the trigger on a gun to kill someone and then being like, "Oh man, how did they die? What happened? I don't know what happened. That's completely crazy." Or, just pushing down the TNT trigger and watching everything explode and just being like, "Ah, man, I wish I knew how that happened. That is so crazy." It's confirmed. Cherry is an absolute idiot, which is what I thought she was going into this. So we've just confirmed everything. All right, let's go back up and tell John what happened. You return to John and tell him what happened. He doesn't seem surprised about it. Instead, he asks you how far away the cannonball exploded. It was over here. Just mere inches from my face. I got a really good look at it. So I honestly don't understand how I didn't catch how it exploded. He shakes his head. Never mind, it's not important right now. You continue to stare at the explosion in amazement until you hear a voice behind you. Hey, what are you doing? We're supposed to be working on our cases. Uh-oh. And let's go ahead and just cover our face with our hands and act like we're invisible. You cover your face with your hands and act like you're invisible. John sees that you're hiding something and walks past you. What the frick are you doing? He asks. Nothing, just acting weird, or weird, right? That's what you call it, weird. Totally not who I actually am. Just peeking out from the curtains or anything. Just acting weird. Well, could you maybe not do that as half the city is wiped out? John sighs. Yeah, I guess I should have said something sooner. Said what sooner? Now you've piqued my interest again, John. What should you have said sooner? You nod. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. John smiles and continues walking. No problem. We can talk more when everyone is back. Sounds good. And then let's go ahead and walk away from the explosion without looking back. The explosion with John following closely behind. You keep walking for some time before you finally come across a police officer who looks at you suspiciously. Where did you get off to? He demands. Places. The policeman frowns. I'm afraid I don't believe you. Where did you get off to? You shrug helplessly. Places. The policeman realizes the extent of your insanity and goes running and goes off running. Around and see the policeman chasing after you. You quickly run into a nearby alleyway where you hide behind a trash can. The policeman follows close behind, but stops when he notices the blood on your shirt. Are you all right? Ah, it seems the Instagrammicitis has finally caught up to me. Strange. I didn't feel a thing. Nods. Yes, it does seem strange. Anyway, I need to know where you were going before this happened. You shrug helplessly. Places, I told you. The policeman frowns again. Okay, well, where were you going? Places. Our voice grows feeble as blood continues coming from the wound. The wound, by the way, is from our heart, because our heart has essentially exploded from all of the Instagram intake, and so it just, yeah. The policeman frowns. All right, I'll take you to the scene of the crime. It's just down the street from here. I'm not so sure I'll... And then let's go ahead and die from blood loss before we can be dragged into this investigation. You shake your head. No, I'm fine. Just need to rest anyway. Gosh darn it, I did it when I tell you to die. You need to die. Die. You collapse onto the ground and begin to breathe profusely. Your body begins to shut down, and eventually you cease moving completely. The policeman looks at the body with sadness and regret before moving on with his work. After all, there's more than one person in this world. And that's where we're going to end it. So, Cherry ended up being a cherry bomb. Big surprise. Oh, also, that was a good ending. I was just gonna cut away and not let it end because sometimes it goes on forever, but this is a good ending, so here we go. The policeman walks over to you and examines your face. He sighs. It appears that you're dead. You look up at him with lifeless eyes. What do you mean? He points to the hole in your chest and then turns away. You died. Game over. So yeah, anyways, that was the story of Cherry the Cherry Bomb, a person with Instagrammicitis who desperately wanted to figure it out, but then got very sidetracked by a nice little cannon and cannonball that, just kind of flew through her office. But that was it. If you like the story, go ahead and like the video, because that tells me to do more stuff like this. If you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. We're trying to do these videos every other day. This week's going to be the iffy week, but we're going to try. And I can't guarantee much from these AI Dungeon videos because they are completely random, but what I can guarantee is a healthy dose of craziness. So if you want that healthy dose of craziness, subscribe, become a member of the channel. I don't know, there isn't a membership, so just subscribe. It's free. Anyways, if you have a prompt that you want me to do, go ahead and comment it down below so I can get those out. And anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope that you all soar high and enjoy your ride of life. Bye!